All right, all right, all right. What's good, y'all? 10-16-23. You know what it be. Let's jump into it. So we're gonna move all the markups, and we're gonna start from the top. Let's continuously work out our skills, doing this over and over and over again, right? So I'm looking here. You can see we had this down move down, and we finally had a break up. So of course we wanted to see it come into here. Still hasn't quite gotten there just yet. We're starting to have an up move here, retracing this large candle, but ultimately, on the monthly, we want to see it poke back into here. Now let's go. Yeah, this is looking like it's hot and it's ready to come back up, right? So this is where again we just continuously go down. So if this is how it should be going, right? Like if we're looking at this higher time frame. Well, what's the highest likelihood here? Well, we got green money flow down here. Green money flow. Boom. So that means, there's probably a lot of buyers in the market at this point. So that would give me ultimately a bullish bias. So we saw this down move here. Now we want to see it close above here on the monthly. We have 15 days and 8 hours left on the monthly. Let's continuously zoom down and look at something that might be a bit more realistic for us to trade. So we look here on the weekly, and we see price moving up, right? And then we see this last move. We saw this break above. So then, naturally, you would say here, but then we had this large move back down into it. And you could say that this ultimately got mitigated somewhere in here, which saw this break up, so probably on a lower time frame, as we were probably trading before. We had this move down, we finally had a move up, so then boom, right? It continues up, comes back into here, right? Large move down. This is a white candle, boom, break up. So then now we have this area left behind, and then of course, just like that, right on the daily. We saw price come into that area, and now we're starting to move up. If you recall, last week we took a trade in here somewhere, but I just removed it, so that's kind of nil. So if we're looking at the most recent price action, that price moved down, right? We had this probably would be the low, and then you have a lot of wickiness. No body closes down, so we would use this as our low here, but we want to see this high broken above here. Boom, break above, and then now we have this zone left behind. Right? Because we had all these wicks here, so you could probably just take that, and then you'd want to see it come back into here. Then we saw price start to move up, had this black candle start to come down, but then boom, to the moon. So then now here on the daily, we have these two zones, and it looks like we're bullish. And ultimately, right, we want to see this go to all-time highs. And so we're more than willing to wait for price to come back into here and look for a trade in here. Or we see this red money flow for 4-hour time frame on the daily. We have it coming up, so it looks like it wants to curve back under, right? It looks like it might be starting to do that. We're not sure yet. But ultimately, if we saw it come into here, this would be a great trade, but I think it's just super bullish right now. So we could look for a continuation. And again, how we trade, right? We look for the 1-to-1 5s, 1-to-2s, right? Things like that. So maybe we had something like this occur, right? You're looking for something like 1-to-1 5, and this is reasonable to run that. And then ultimately, the all-time highs up here, right? Which we didn't actually run the previous all-time high, which was approximately $2,071.44. So we see here on the daily, looks like it's starting to come back down. So we probably want to wait on that. But ultimately, I'm pretty bullish on gold right now. Pretty bullish on gold. You see this here starting to move down, but we'd want to see a close above this particular wick here. So this is what we'd be looking for on the 4 hour, right? Then we go down to the 1 hour and we start to see. So we had this particular break above. We have a lot of green here. We had an anchor here as well. Wow. So then it would be something probably along the lines of that, because we have this close above. And this will be validated, and it looks like it started to come back in here ever so slightly, came all the way up. Maybe we want to wait for about 50% in there. We continue to go down, and we look for the scalping opportunities, potential scalping opportunities, and we can go ahead and refine a lot of this. You see red money flow, but it's starting to slowly move up, right? Move up in the opposite direction. We had this large move down here, large wick down. We had wickiness until we finally had a body close all the way over here above this wick here. So we could do something like this, right? And probably refine it to something like this. Although this still does partially make sense in a way. So we could be looking like that. This would be the lower of the zones. And then we'd want to see something come into here, but as customary, we saw it come up, and then we saw it starts to make these black candles moving down, boom, close, right? No body closes below this last wick here, and we finally see a large move up, and now we're seeing price start to tap into here. So then it really is the question, which one makes more sense? This is a 15-minute, and this is low time frame, so you're looking here. You might want to say, okay, well, what's a quick scalp off of this if we're going to be willing to put risk onto this? Remember, this is the daily zone here. This is the 4 hour here. Just keep that in your mind. Keep context always relevant on the forefront. So what we want to see is we see price coming down. We see a lot of wick action here. We probably, we saw it close above here. So now we're starting to see it move sideways. We start to see a lot of black candles down. And we still haven't seen, we want to see it break above this ultimately. Although we have this, it was pretty close to closing on body on all these low wicks, but not very strong, and it just doesn't look very good, to be honest with you. So maybe if it breaks above there, maybe we go ahead and set an alert here. If it breaks above there, we'll look for something like a short scalp, right? Because ultimately we have it in here, and it looks like we're starting to come down here. If we start to close, let's see what happens here in this next 30 seconds. We're 7 minutes into this video, y'all. And it looks like we might be printing a green dot in a way, but I mean, doesn't look very good in my opinion. So that's doing that right now. Let's go ahead and look at some other pairs here. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and remove that. We're just gonna wait. Oh, Bitcoin. Wow, that's a large spike up. So let's go ahead and go to the weekly. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, it's continuing to move up. Very, very interesting. So let's go ahead and remove this alert. Yeah, it's rocketing to the moon. Or is it actually to the moon, or is it in some type of a range in here, right? It comes up to here to drop off. Because this doesn't look very strong, in my opinion. I mean, it looks just super choppy. Now, it could be the start of a next good move, and maybe it is even quite logical to think that you could take that. But I don't know. It just doesn't, none of this looks really good, like really good price action. Breaks down, finally come up, and then we didn't have a body close below all of this wickiness. So the zones here just don't really look that great. Now if we go to the monthly, we have a slightly different picture, but it still doesn't look that great, right? We had to move up. We'd want to see a break here if we were to continue bearish, but ultimately it looks like it's kind of bullish break. We saw a break here, and this is on the monthly, right? So this is a pretty big deal. break and close above. So I don't really like this right now, though, to be completely transparent here. So we had this move down. Now we're starting to have some moves up, move down, and finally big break. So maybe something like this. Come back down into here. Potentially. This is a green dot, though. It just doesn't look that good. Yeah. We're just going to kind of leave Bitcoin alone for now. All right, NASDAQ. Yeah, we're looking for the buy stop there. But let's go ahead and remove that real quick. Just so we can keep it simple. Just look at the chart and see what's going on here. So price, break, right? Almost struck, yeah, body close. So that's one, right? And it's not that, it's just wiki, right? So it's showing in a way that this area, whatever this area is in here, does kind of want to stay, right? Like people agree to move sideways in here. And this is a fair buying price because ultimately it did go up. So from here, we would look, okay, well, we have a nice move down and then it's just very wiki and then boom, break up, right? So then the play really would be something like this to see it come back into here. And again, when I'm talking through this, just keep in mind when I'm creating these boxes on the actual chart, all I'm trying to do is get an idea of a way to manage risks, right? So if I was to do something on the daily, right, and it came into here and I was just like, okay, it comes in here, let me just buy, right? And I'm looking for a 1 to 1.5, right? Depending on what it does as it's continuing to do what it does, right? If it comes in here and it continues to move sideways or it even goes up, maybe I add to the position, or, you know, I manage the risk. Maybe I cut it in half, 50%, or maybe I move to break even when it gets to a 1 to 1. I think depending on what's happening with price action, sometimes you should have rigid rules that don't change. But I think ultimately what you'll see is you have a basic idea of what you're looking for. Price comes into some box, and then you're looking for it to do something from that box, and then you take a trade, and then you manage the trade from there. And the management part is one of the biggest portions of all of this. So let's get back to this. So we want to see price ultimately come back into here. That would be great to see. Yeah, so break. We have this break above here. So that validates this for buys. But we had a really big wick, but finally we had a body close. Bam. Maybe we're coming back up into here to continue down. That's what I would look for at least. And so remember, this is a monthly, large monthly area. Just keep that in mind, right? Monthly. And we see some, I would want to see it come all the way back down into here. And you could actually use this super large area here, right? This large move up, something like that. Boom. Now, of course, you could refine it down into here, but I saw this large move up to break there, so this was the last down move. And so I want to see it tap into here. Now, of course, you can go into this particular zone, just like on this monthly here. You can go in and look at these candles and decide, okay, well, this makes more sense for an area where I want to look for buys or sells, right? So when I'm looking here at the hourly, you see this move, kind of move to the sideways in a way, and you see the white candle up and boom, just large move down. So I'd want to see it sell from here down into here somewhere before ultimately going higher. So let me go ahead and put an alert here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. All right. And let's look at a Forex pair real quick and see what's going on in the foreign exchange markets. So we still want to see this come down a bit lower. I mean, ultimately, this is pretty much moving sideways. It looks like It's starting to move down again, right? Like it looks pretty bearish. Boom, break down, break down, break down. And it looks like it's starting to come up, but ultimately, we're probably gonna be looking for some shorts here. So you see this last move up. We had this move up here, right? Move up, and then boom, just break down. So this will be something that we'd be looking for here, something like this, right? Something like that on the daily. And then we go ahead and let's move down to the hourly and let's see what's going on here. Yeah, more recently we had these moves up and then boom. And then we had this move and then boom. It looks like if we can see probably a break here, right? So this looks like the most recent and the most aggressive in my opinion, but I mean we've tapped into this larger daily area, right? Just tapped into it. There's a lot of room to move up into here, so we could probably go a bit deeper in here to be fair. Boom. We had this. So that would be probably a target, but if we see this break first, we're willing to say, okay, we'll break. Maybe we get a sell stop into here with this as the high, and then we look for a 1 to 5-0. And yeah, short all the way down into that previous zone that we had marked. So that's going to be the end for my analysis on Monday, 10/16/23. Hopefully you learned something. Hit that like. If you enjoyed the content, hit the dislike button. If you think this could be improved, and then just leave a comment so I know how this can be improved to better help you understand these markets as I see it, and really as most people do see it, right? It's all based on risk management, making sure that you have a proper strategy once you get into a trade based on whatever criteria that you've developed over consistent time of testing and seeing the markets over and over again. Then ultimately that's what's going to drive a lot of success here. So anyways, you all have a wonderful week. It's your boy, B-Field Trades. I'm gone. Peace.